Hello, welcome to my channel, Learn English in Easy Way. Let's start with the new stories. Cat Key. Dear Bob and Carol, I wanted to write to you some time ago, but we have been very busy this month with plans for a new home. Our flat's simply too small for us now that the children are older. First, we looked for a larger flat in town and found a modern three-bedroom flat quite near here. It wasn't far from Peter's office, so he liked it very much. The children were also happy because some of their friends lived next door. But when I saw the flat, I knew I didn't want it. It was on the 8th floor of a large block of flats, and you know I'm afraid of high places. It was also on a busy main road. Then, last week, we saw an advertisement in the evening paper for a really cheap house in the country. But it was a bit far from town, so Peter didn't like the idea at first. But we visited the place last weekend, and the children and I liked it immediately. It is over 100 years old, so we must modernize it completely. But I don't mind that, because it has got 4 large bedrooms. It is really big. The children loved it, because there is a big garden to play in. There is a very good private school nearby, and I think we will send Chris and Claire there. The children and I were so enthusiastic that Peter finally agreed. We are planning to move there next month. Luckily, several friends have been offered to help us. I am sure we will be very happy there. Hoping to see you in our new home soon. Love, Katki. Single Fathers Club. Self-help groups, i.e., groups of people with common problems, are very popular in many countries. These people have meetings and talk about their problems. They try to find answers for their problems together. For example, there are hundreds of groups of men and women who want to lose weight or give up drinking, who are single mothers or unmarried mothers. Now, groups for single fathers are also starting to appear. This is the story of a group for single fathers. It started when a radio announcer, John McCarthy, was reading an announcement for a single mothers group. After he read the announcement, he said, "I am a single father. I've got 2 sons. My wife died 2 years ago. I look after my children on my own, and I have a lot of problems. I'm sure there are a lot of other men who have lost their wives. So we need a group too. 2 single fathers, Harry Mason and Paul Singer, heard his message on the radio and called him, and they decided to meet. These 3 men started the first single fathers group in the US on May 5, 1988. After 6 months, there were 30 fathers in the group called Single Fathers Club. There are doctors, students, mechanics, a bus driver, a television producer, a few businessmen, and several men who are unemployed. They meet every Tuesday night. They talk about problems such as how to look after a child with a temperature, where to find milk at 6 a.m., how to help children who don't sleep well at night, or what foods are best for their children. The fathers feel these meetings help them. They say the difficult part for men is just learning to talk to other men about anything really personal. Plane crash in Peru. On Christmas Eve 1971, Juliana Koepke, a 17-year-old German girl, and her mother left Lima by plane. They were going to Pucallpa, another town in Peru. They wanted to spend Christmas with Juliana's father, who was the manager of a bank in Pucallpa. For 5 minutes later, there was a terrible storm and the plane hit a mountain and crashed. Juliana fell 3,000 meters, strapped in her seat. She didn't die when the seat hit the ground, but she was unconscious all night. The next morning, Juliana looked for pieces of the plane and called for her mother. Nobody answered, and she only found a small plastic bag of sweets. Juliana's left arm was broken, one knee was badly hurt, and she had deep cuts on her legs and arms. She had no shoes, and she was wearing only a dress, which was badly torn. But she decided to try to get out of the jungle. She knew that she would die if she stayed there. She started to walk. She didn't have anything to eat for 2 days, so she felt very weak. She heard helicopters, but couldn't see them above the trees, and of course they couldn't see her. After 4 days, she came to a river. She walked and swam down the river for another 5 days. At last, she came to a small village house. Nobody was there, but that afternoon, 4 farmers arrived. They took her to a doctor in the next village. Juliana learned afterwards that there were 3 other people who were not killed in the accident, but she was the only one who got out of the jungle. It took her 10 days. Inverness. Inverness is a small town situated in beautiful countryside in the northeast of Scotland. It is an important center for visits to many parts of the Highlands, which is the famous mountainous area in Scotland. Inverness is a small town, but it has got an excellent transport system. There are trains to all the main cities of Scotland. Inverness to Aberdeen, 1.5 hours. Inverness to Dundee, 3 hours. Inverness to Glasgow, 4 hours. Inverness to Edinburgh, 4.5 hours. Dalcross Airport, about 8 miles east of the town, offers flights to many parts of the country. The buses leaving from Ferraline Park serve the town and the surrounding area. Many of the big banks have branches in Inverness, so changing money is not a problem for tourists. As well as these essential services, the town has cultural and entertainment facilities. There are theaters and cinemas, and some hotels organize Highland entertainment during the summer months. Inverness is an old town, but there are not many buildings left from the old times. However, there are still some buildings in the town which are very old, such as the houses on Douglas Road. and Church Street has some interesting old churches. Inverness is situated at the northern end of the Caledonian Canal. The canal was opened in 1822. Sailing boats used the canal to travel between the Irish Sea and the North Sea. The canal provided a safe and fast journey for them. When steamships became popular instead of sailing boats, people stopped using the canal for transport because these steamships were too large and couldn't travel down the canal. Nowadays, there are sightseeing trips for tourists down the canal. There are many good eating places in Inverness. There are plenty of restaurants and hotels which offer meals to non-residents. They have delicious local dishes at cheap prices. Try some haggis and a glass of malt whiskey before you leave. There are also all kinds of seafood. The Barazana. Between Colombia and Brazil, there is an area called the Pampas region. About 15,000 people live in this area. They are the Amazonian Indians. These Amazonian Indians live in small groups. These groups have got different names like Tucana, Dezana, Cubea, Barazana. The Barazana have a very different lifestyle. They do not live in villages. Many families live together in one house. It's a very big house and they share everything in this house. These houses are very far away from each other. A person has to walk for an hour to get from one house to another. There are gardens for special plants behind the houses. The Barazana pick bananas from the banana trees and use the leaves of these trees to serve food. The Barazana man and the Barazana woman do different things. The women spend most of their time doing housework. They look after children, work in the gardens, and prepare the food. The men go fishing and hunt animals for their meat. The Barazana are marvelous language learners. This is because a Barazana man has to marry a woman from a different house. The people in different houses speak different languages, so they must learn the other language to understand each other. The wife has to learn her husband's language and the husband has to learn his wife's language. The children first learn their father's language and use it every day. But they also understand their mother's language. The children do not go to school. They play with other children, watch their parents, and in this way they learn about life. Young girls have to help their mothers, but the boys don't. They usually swim in the rivers, go fishing, and practice hunting animals. If you enjoyed the video, please hit a like and subscribe to my channel. Have a good one and see you in the next video.